Towels, games 3 and 4 of the Stanley Cup second round. For those of you who rock your red, who follow all that we do here with the Capitals, you know that this is one of the more difficult segments. Ed Frankovic joins us here. He is our longtime hockey insider, Caps historian, and NHL expert. And I know you've been staying up late with the Edmontons and the Anaheims, and we're watching the St. Louises and the Nashvilles and the New Yorks and the Ottawas. But this Caps series, I think, just not for Caps fans, but around hockey, this is a pretty shocking situation right now. I mean, at some point they're going to break through. This has been an ugly couple of hours of hockey for the Capitals to start, and certainly much like what we have become accustomed to. They're not getting completely outplayed. They're not getting outchanced. They're just getting out-goalied at this point, right?
Yeah, they doubled them up in shot attempts in the first two games, but that and what 35 cents will get you a phone call these days. You got to put the puck in the net, and we were together Saturday night for game 2, and the Capitals shot attempted them 35-8 in that first period. I think it was 16-5 on shots on goal, and you leaned over to me about 3/4 of the way through the period and says, they got to put one of these in the back of the net, and if they don't, could be trouble. And sure enough, that's what happened. Coach Trotz after the game felt like his team's getting their chances, and Pittsburgh's getting theirs, and Pittsburgh's burying theirs. Now, something I warned about when I did my pre-scout on the Pens that I blogged out at WNST.net, that team likes to live off the rush, and the Capitals made several mistakes in this series, and the first 6 goals for Pittsburgh have been off the rush. They've been turnovers, and Sidney Crosby has certainly been the all-world player like we talked about prior to Game 2. He's been a huge difference. Marc-Andre Fleury has been a difference, and the willingness of the Penguins to block shots has been a huge, huge factor in the series, and I got a chance to talk to some of the players about that after the game on Saturday night.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. Pulling Holtby in Game 2, that would be where the controversy lies. I know you did not agree with it. I know many people in the press box, certainly many people in the Twitter sphere. I would say Trotz is in the minority on this one, right? It wasn't one of those situations that was crying out, but he coaches the team. I think you and I have enough professional respect to say, okay, maybe he knows something we don't know in regard to Holtby. And I know Holtby stood at the locker after the game late into the night on Saturday. The game got started late, and it felt like it dragged on, certainly with all the goals being scored on the Pittsburgh side. Some thoughts about Holtby, his head, Trotz's decision? Because if this thing, if I'm driving back down the mountain on Thursday morning, Ed, after 3.5 days with Yins and that, and the season's over. Let's say that they never get to Game 5, and you and I aren't getting together on Saturday night. They'll turn back to this Holtby thing and say, well, what happened, right?
Well, I think everyone would agree that he probably should have had the third goal, although I'll go back and say that's a 2-on-1 break, and that's a guy who's on fire right now, but he probably needs to cover the short side on that one and get that one. I can't fault him at all on the second goal. I mean, I've watched the replay of that so many times. Holtby textbook, does what he's supposed to do on a 2-on-1, and he has to move a hair late because Crosby's got the puck, and 3 Capitals rush to him, and they kind of overplay him and leave Kessel wide open. But that's a perfect shot. It's over his shoulder. I mean, it barely goes in, and so I can't really fault him on that one. Yeah, maybe he could have stopped the breakaway on Cullen, but again, you look at the chances Pittsburgh's had; they've been odd man rushes. The Capitals aren't getting odd man rushes. They're getting shots. They're getting some high quality ones in the slot on some Pittsburgh turnovers, but they're spin arounds and shoots. They're not coming in on a breakaway like Bonino for the game winner in Game 1. So I think the Capitals. I love the way they've played at times in this series where they've dominated, especially the first period. I mean, they had to stick to the script in the first period there on Saturday night. The rest of the game, and they didn't. Shattenkirk hesitates on a shot, and it gets blocked, and it's a breakaway. But I would not have pulled Holtby. I think it was a panicked move. I will stand by that. Coach gets paid. Coach Trotz gets paid to coach the team, and he's going to live and die with these decisions. Maybe something's up with Braden. I don't know. But I do think he will start. I think it's been announced he's going to start Game 3 on Monday night. I also didn't like the decision for another reason. I think you're putting Grubauer into a cold situation there. And, Justin Williams, after the game, I had a nice chat with him. All the quotes are out of my blog at WNST.net. Very telling. And I gave him an opportunity to let Holtby off the hook on those 3 goals, and he did. He did not take Holtby off the hook. He basically said, look, everybody in this locker room has got to be better. Doesn't matter who you are, whether you're Kevin Shattenkirk or Braden Holtby or Justin Williams because his shot got blocked, led to the third goal. Alex Ovechkin only 2 shot attempts in the first period. That's another reason they're not scoring. They're not getting the puck to Alex enough. Everybody on that team has got to be better. So Holtby certainly needs to be better. I just didn't like that decision at that time.
Ed Frankovic covers all things Caps. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Ed Frankovic during game nights. I will be in Pittsburgh for games 3 and 4. Stuck there this week where, there's a part of this where it's the Caps choke thing that we've been hearing about for 30 years. Part of this is the Penguins sort of having their number and the speed that kills and the stretch play that kills. But more than anything, and you've alluded to this, Sidney Crosby's a really good hockey player, and I don't know what can be done to neutralize him. And I talked to Joe Beninati earlier about how strong he is on the puck and, how strong his legs are. And even though he's not that, gargantuan, giant Ovechkin, Lindros type of size player, he plays bigger than that, and he certainly plays smarter than that. And when the puck's on his stick and he has a chance, the shot's going to be an excellent shot. Now, whether it beats a goalie or not, but he's looking for openings, and he is a sniper.
Well, looking for openings is exactly the problem. And what you have to do against him, you're not gonna outskill that guy. What you have to do with that guy is when you're playing him, when you're on the ice against him, you cannot turn the puck over in the neutral zone. Game 1, first goal, Matt Niskanen turnover. Sidney Crosby scores 1-0, takes a lot of wind out of the Capitals' sails. Game 2, 1-1 game. I mean, the Capitals gave up the awful shorthanded goal for Cullen after Shattenkirk made a terrible decision on his shot. And it's a 1-1 game. The Capitals had stabilized things for a while. And he had top line versus top line out there. And the Capitals made three turnovers in a row in the neutral zone with Sidney Crosby on the ice. And on the third one, Sid finally made them pay. He gets that burst of speed inside out, makes the pass to Kessel, and Kessel with the all-world shot. What you have to do when Sidney Crosby's on the ice is you've got to make sure you get the puck deep against him. That's the only thing you can do. You have to put pucks behind the Pittsburgh defense and put the onus on them to try to get the puck to Crosby. Because if you try to make a fancy play or you're late in the shift because you've made a couple turnovers and you turn the puck over, that's when he's going to bury you, and that's what he did. So if there's a criticism of how they're playing against him, they have to be more aware when number 87 is on the ice. They have to be extra careful about getting the puck deep. I know the Capitals' top line likes to score, and they like to generate chances, but guess what? When you've turned it over 1 or 2 times already on a shift, that third time, that puck has got to go deep, and you've got to change. And that Crosby goal really made them pay. I mean, the Crosby to Kessel pass really made them pay, and that was all number 87.
And they have capitalized on the few opportunities they've had. And, the Caps had a couple of power plays in Game 2, a little more lopsided in Game 1 the other way around, but they weren't much on the power play. And the Caps, the Penguins, it feels like they had, 7 chances to score on Saturday night. They scored on 6 of them to some degree. I mean, Holtby hasn't been tested certainly the way Fleury was, and not even Grubauer in the third period. Fleury has really been taken to task here, and he is the reason that they're up 2-0. He's the reason it was 6-2, not the offense on Saturday night.
Yeah, he's certainly playing well in net, and Pittsburgh's taking a page out of Montreal's book from 2010 and packing it in on defense and just trying to block shots and trying to keep the Capitals the outside. And the Capitals continue to fire shots into the Penguins' shin pads and skates. And Justin Williams told me after the game on Saturday, and he said, "Look, it's the key for us is we've got to wear teams down. We've got to wear a team down and let it take over. The longer the series goes, the better for us. Unfortunately, they're going into Game 3 and they have to win this game. And one of the things he says it's a chess match. What we need to do is we're getting too many shots blocked. Whatever the stats say, we're absolutely getting too many shots blocked. Whether we have to start shooting wide off the backboards, and Brooks Orpik mentioned this too. He alluded to a Dion Phaneuf game-winning setup on Saturday for Ottawa over the Rangers. You either shoot the pucks off the backboards or you shoot wide hoping for tips. Those are the kind of things, or just dump it deep. If you don't have a shot, dump it deep. If Williams,
you can do what the Maple Leafs do and pass it to the mystery ghost man on the board, and he'll pass it back to you, right?
Yeah. I mean, just dump it behind the Pittsburgh net if you don't have a lane, and then outwork them. I mean, that's the way you're going to get the better looks. You put the pucks behind the net and try to tire them out. And I asked Coach Trotz about that after the game, and he said, yeah, we are trying to tire them out. And they did that. They were doing that in the first period. I mean, you and I sat there. It was total domination. I mean, Pittsburgh didn't have any odd man rushes in that first period. They had 8 shot attempts. There were no real quality chances. But then the Capitals, this is another thing Williams told me. You're gonna have periods where you're gonna dominate and you're not gonna score. That's gonna happen. So it's almost like Orpik said the same thing. It's almost like they become impatient and they try to do things they're not. And when they do that and they get out of their structure, that's when Pittsburgh jumps on them and seizes on it, because that's all that skilled team needs. And that's what happened. I think if the Capitals can bottle that first period and stay in that structure, not get frustrated. Shattenkirk on that first goal, he's trying to do too much there. He has to slide that puck over to Ovechkin and let Ovi blast it. If he's not going to do that, give it over to Backstrom or shoot quick. They're hesitating, and by hesitating, the Penguins are getting in the lanes and blocking the shot.
Ed Frankovic covers all things Caps for us. He will be covering all things games 3 and 4 and beyond. We're hoping for 5 and at least 6. I said Caps in 6. We'll see how that works out. We'll be in Pittsburgh all week long. Ed will be following the games at Ed Frankovic out on Twitter. And, of course, his blogs appear in our WNST morning newspaper, all brought to you courtesy of our friends at Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. You can sign up for free up at WNST.net and get our morning newspaper delivered. And you can, of course, follow Ed and myself on Twitter throughout the evenings this week, where the Orioles are up in Boston. The draft's over. The Wizards have dropped the game already in the Celtics thing, and the Capitals find themselves really in this must-win thing for Game 3, Ed. And you talk about the shot blocking. There's a toll. There's a price that gets paid there. And for Hainsey taking the puck off his head, obviously for Hornquist and where he is, this is going to be a depleted bunch in Game 3 for the Penguins because, quite frankly, they have been courageous. It takes incredible courage to put your face in front of Alex Ovechkin's slap shot, I must say.
Yeah, absolutely. And, especially at the Verizon Center where we've talked about the conditions of the ice. And, you get a puck wobbling a little bit, which I think happened to Ovechkin there, and that's why that puck goes up and catches him in the head, despite what some of the Penguins players are reportedly saying to some of the Pittsburgh media that they thought Ovechkin was doing that on purpose, which is, that's just insane and irresponsible if you ask me. But, they're sacrificing themselves. Patrick Hornquist is done for the series. I know the reports aren't officially out yet, but you will hear it. He is definitely out. He played 5 minutes in the first period, blocked a shot, never came back. My sources tell me that he's got a serious fracture or leg injury, so he won't be back. And he's certainly a factor for Pittsburgh. And Hainsey, I know he took one off the noggin there, but chatting with Ken Savard, he says, hey, I've taken him off the noggin and played the next game. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Hainsey shoot up, but Hainsey's been very good for the Penguins. And if he can't go, and it's a Mark Streit in the lineup, that's another advantage for the Capitals. Again, they have to find a way, and Justin Williams said this to me after Game 2. He says, look, we can't look at the totality of this. We have to as a team. And he said, the locker room didn't open for about 15 minutes. We stood down there in that hall for a while, the media waiting to get in there. And apparently they had a players-only meeting, and Nicholas Backstrom stood up and said some things, and Williams said some other guys said some things, but it was all good stuff. But he said, the focus of the team is, look, we've got one game. We have to win one game at a time and just do it several times in a row. But they're focused on just winning Game 3. They can't think about 2-0 hole and winning 4 or 5. It's got to be, the score is 0-0 for Game 3. We've got to come out. We've got to play like we did in the first period. Hopefully we can get a little more traffic in front. Maybe we shoot a little wider, try and get some tips, play off the backboards, and get a couple goals off Fleury, try to get Fleury moving a little bit. They're going to pack it in and, play that way and not give the Penguins the odd man rushes. Then we might have a series here, and that's where maybe the Capitals' depth can take over with a Hornquist or a Hainsey or even Kunakl out with some injuries.
Ed, for you with this thing, Ovechkin, I don't want to say disappearing, but certainly not, leading the flourish at this point. This would be right around the time where, he needs to have a night with 3 points, right?
Yeah, and they have to find a way to get him the puck more, Ness. And he overpassed a little bit too. When you looked at that 35-8, and I go and I look at the shot attempts, and Ovi's got 2 of 35, you're not gonna score that way. Your best shooter only has 2 attempts. One, was right into the pads of Fleury on a power play where Fleury perfectly anticipated the pass from Shattenkirk, and the other one gets blocked. You have to find a way to get the puck to Ovi more, and he did pass up a shot late in the second power play they had in the first period that, that's one he's got to put on net. So it's on Ovi, and it's on the team to get him the puck. They have got to find a way to get him more shot attempts, and I put that on the coaches too. They've got to come up with some type of strategy to get Ovechkin to shoot the puck more because, Crosby's the guy doing it for Pittsburgh, and it's time for Ovechkin to answer on his end. and that's going. And the Pittsburgh's doing whatever they can to try and take that away. And I know Pittsburgh loves it when he passes up a shot opportunity to pass because he's got the best shot in the league. They got to have Ovechkin shooting.
You want to see this thing get a little heavier on Monday night, just from I don't want to say bad blood, but from the way the game's been played in the corners and the way the Capitals could play this thing. I'm interested to see what the hitting looks like in the first period in Pittsburgh.
Well, they have dominated the hits through two games, but it's not enough. Like you said, I'd like to see Ian Cole hit more. I'd like to see Trevor Daley hit more. All those those pucks. That's why when they block the shots and they're going out, that's an opportunity where you could have thrown the puck behind the net. You don't have a lane to shoot, so don't shoot. Throw the puck behind the net. Make them work for it. Go in there and hit them. I mean, the Capitals have Tom Wilson, Ovechkin, TJ Oshie. All these guys can hit. Throw the puck behind the net and go hit their D. And guess what? Then they're tired. And then they turn the puck over, and they can't get in the lane to block the shot. Trotz said that's the strategy, but they deviated. Once they got to that second period and they had the dominant first, they didn't score. I think they got in their heads. We got to change things. And hopefully in that team meeting following the game 2, they all said, look, we've got to be patient. I think patience is a big key for the Capitals. I think they get impatient, and they start doing things that they're really not really adept at, and that's when the Penguins have burnt them in this series.
Well, it's been a tough week so far. I know tough week for the Leonsis family, too, dropping the first game against the Celtics on Sunday afternoon as well. We'll make our way to Pittsburgh. We'll be in Pittsburgh all week. If you want to reach me there, you can certainly find me out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault, nasty@WNST.net finds me. We have $100 off on all of our trips as well. I want to point that out. It's our final week for that. Ed, last thing for you. They've proven to be the better team during the regular season each of the past 2 years. I don't think there's any point where a casual fan looks down and sees that they lose 6-2 and thinks, man, they're getting their asses kicked. It's a lot more complex than that, but I do think there is a psychological part of this that the fans harbor, that the players start to harbor too when you get up to Pittsburgh if you find yourself down 3-1 at the end of the second period like they did the other night in D.C., that this thing could be, that they've put themselves with very, very little rope left here, right? I mean, when you go down 2-0 at home like this is a disaster waiting to happen in Pittsburgh in the minds of many, many people.
Yeah, and I think maybe getting out of town is a good thing because it's absolutely true. The Verizon Center was, I think you tweeted out, you could hear a pin drop.
It was more like it really was. I mean, because the fans in there, these aren't 20,000 fresh fans that haven't seen this just on TV. I mean, the bottom line is 10 or 12,000 of these people go every night, right? I mean, literally, they're in the same seats down on the lower bowl and the suite level, the hardcore fans that are at 15, 20 regular season games. They're coming to every playoff game or trying to. And I know it was portrayed as though like the Penguins had taken over the arena or something. It was not like that at all. There were 18,000 Caps fans and 800 Penguins fans at the game. You just only heard from the 800 once things went awry. But this has been a tough thing to witness at any level as a Caps fan. I think it's specifically tough for people that spend $200 a ticket and have been for 10 years now, and they've been in their seats for all kinds of disasters and near misses, even with the Islanders and the Flyers, that they sell you the whole seat, you're only on the edge, that there was palpable negative feeling about this in the third period when they're losing 5-2 straight up. Yeah,
no doubt. And I mean, I joked with you, right after Collins scored. I mean, the curse is real, right? I mean, the fans feel that. And the players, I mean, Trotz has had to come out in the media and talk about it. So, they hear it. Whether they feel it or not, maybe it.
Well,
maybe
Ovechkin and Backstrom and Holtby do. I mean, they're the guys that have been around here. I don't know that Justin Williams or TJ Oshie or certainly Kevin Shattenkirk, they wouldn't have the same taste in their mouth. Not even Trotz as the guys who've been here from the beginning on the ice, the Beagles, those guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why I think Trotz tried to address it and play it down. But it's there. There's no running from it. I think. Several of the players have said that there's no running from it. We're not going to hide, from it. We have to. I think it's Matt Niskanen said, until we do something about it, it's always going to be there. And I can tell you, I was in that locker room Saturday night after that game too, and Brooks Orpik was out talking, Justin Williams was out talking, TJ Oshie, Alex Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom, Braden Holtby. Nobody was running from any questions. I mean, I asked Justin Williams point blank some pretty hard questions about the block shots and the mistake he made and going down 2-0, and he stood there and he answered him. I'll give him a lot of credit. And Brooks Orpik, the same thing. They were, they stayed there. They didn't try and say, they didn't try and get the PR guys to say one more question, I'm out of here. Brooks Orpik made a point to let me ask several more questions to him, and so the leadership is there on the team. You got to hope that getting out of here and getting up to Pittsburgh, although they've lost their last 6 in Pittsburgh, maybe helps them. Maybe getting away from the fan base and one thing goes wrong and you feel the collective weight of the whole Verizon Center on your playing. You're going to be up in Pittsburgh. Maybe getting away from there and simplifying the game and just finding a way to stay patient and getting a goal, getting a puck by Fleury early, getting that lead, and not making a mistake, not trying to do too much and letting them go up. I think that's what they got to do, and I think that's their mindset right now. I mean, at least that's the way it was after Saturday night's game. And whether they can get it done or not, you'll be up there, you'll feel it. That place is going to be rocking. I don't know, what do they call it, Pittsburgh Paints Arena? It used to be
I haven't been to this one, right? I mean, the last time I saw an indoor event, I've seen maybe 3 Penguins games at the Igloo. I was at the All-Star game at the Igloo, 30 years ago now in the Lemieux Gretzky era. I guess it was the 91 All-Star game or 90. I don't know what it was. I have to go back into the Wayback Machine to figure that out. And I saw Springsteen at the Igloo, but I never... I haven't been up there. I mean, Rush was one of the first bands that ever played there. I almost went up when it was the Console at the time. And obviously, the Capitals have played so many games up there. I've just never taken it in. And this is, I'm trying to do things I've never done. I've never spent 4 days in Pittsburgh. Not that was on my bucket list, but going to some playoff games between the Caps and the Penguins up in Pittsburgh, that's something I've never done. So I'm hoping that maybe, just maybe, I'll be the good luck charm here this week, Eddie.
Well, let's hope so, Ness, because I was there so many times in the 90s with the teams and spending 3 days there. And, you're fortunate with the Ravens where you can be in and out because I tell you, I don't like spending any time.
If I covered the Orioles, I'd be stuck there 3 days every 8 years for sure, So.
But let's think. Let's look at some things. To draw on. I mean, the Capitals have been down 2-0 in the series before, where they lost both games at home. They did that to the Rangers.
Well, they were in trouble last week against a lesser team. I mean, they were down 2-1 in Toronto. They climbed out of it. They've climbed out before. It's not. This isn't insurmountable. It's just ugly.
Yeah, and they just have to focus on the one game. I mean, you look at some of the recent champions. Look at the Cleveland Cavaliers last year. I mean, Golden State was up 3-1, had 2 of the last 3 on their home court, and Cleveland comes back. I mean, the champions face adversity. When the Bullets won their championship back in 1978, they were down 3-1 to the San Antonio Spurs and came back. The Penguins have come back 3-1 on the Capitals when they won the Cup in '92. I mean, you have to go through adversity. It's early in the series. The Capitals have to just find a way to win Game 3, and even if they were to lose Game 4, and go down 3-1, there's still hope. But they have to 3-0. I think is a big hole. They have to win Game 3 and just focus on one shift at a time. And being patient and doing playing smart and patient. I think that's what they need to do.
He is Ed Frankovic. He is smart. He will be patient. At Ed Frankovic on Twitter, as well as Ed at WNST.net. I am in Pittsburgh all week. Pray for me and for the Caps to at least get this thing back, get it back home. Get at least one of these 2, if not 2 of 2, up in Pittsburgh. It all starts Game 3. We will be watching and opining. There'll be plenty of hockey here. Plenty of draft wrap-up, cover-up. Our trips to Nashville and Green Bay and London on sale, $100 off all week long. You can reach me, nasty at WNST.net. I'm out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. And don't forget, anything you miss, you can find in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault. That's there for you 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn radio app. We come in crystal clear. I'll be writing and opining and saying all things about the Caps out on social media as well. Last but never least, if there's any breaking news, I know we had a lot of that over the weekend with the Ravens picks, as well as the Orioles moving some ups and downs and some Terps decisions being made as well. You get that first on the WNST text service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday to recap the draft and get ready for the weekend as well. Birds are up in Boston. The Wizards are playing against Boston as well. A lot of Boston going on, a lot of Pittsburgh going on here this week, and a lot of sports. It's busy around here. I'm stuck in Pittsburgh. You can find me out on the internet. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.